we are racing, and it's an absolutely electric start for the 42 of Will Benton. Massive lunge up the inside by Matt Buff on Alistair Camp.
Active on the outside. Oh, oh, big off. Oh. Straight in the gravel trap. Both cars out.
Well, hello everyone and welcome back to Silverstone, where the final race of the weekend in the Milltek Sports Civic Cup is almost upon us. The cars are going to be leaving the safety of the garage in the next few minutes to head out into the assembly area, where we'll have a chat with a couple of the drivers at the end of what has been a busy and dramatic and eventful day of racing. The championship taking a few more twists and turns as the day has gone on, and we'll fill you in on all of that in a few moments' time. Before we get into the racing action though, let's go back to earlier in the day when I had a chance to catch up with our championship promoter, Stuart Lines, to talk all things Civic Cup and 2024. Stuart, it's been a cracking season in Civic Cup this year, hasn't it? We're getting down to the nitty-gritty now, and still no separating those title contenders.
No, I think there's six drivers who could realistically win the championship, and we've just had another race, and it was great. You know, lovely, you know, close racing. You know, there was no damage for anyone, which is key, you know, for people with low budgets and that. So, you know, it all looked really good.
And nice to see some new names as well now. People like Max Edmondson coming through, really maturing as the year's gone on. Dan Thackeray giving it a proper go. And then you've always got people like Alistair Camp. We know he's going to be a title contender. We've said that all year long. What do you reckon? Who can any of them sort of edge away this weekend, or is this one going to go right down to the wire?
I'm not sure who's going to win the championship. I mean, I think the momentum is with Edmondson. I think he's consistently up there. Dan Thackeray, he's due to win a championship. I think, you know, he's been the bridesmaid, or, you know, I think he got a bit unlucky the other year. Camp knows how to win a championship because he's already done it. Then there's two or three other people that have got an outside look, but look, at the end of the day, it's going to go down to the last lap of the last race at Brands Hatch. We know that because the last 3 or 4 years, that's what's happened.
Well, if it's half as exciting as Snetterton was at the end of last year, I think we're in for a real treat, aren't we? Lots of new drivers on the grid as well this weekend. We've got 5 new drivers, a couple of returning faces as well. It's a popular place to be at the moment, the Civic Cup, isn't it? Yeah.
I mean, when we took it on, wasn't the best championship in the world. You know, we don't buy championships that are doing well, as you probably noticed. We only buy championships that are in the spot of bother. But, you know, we turned it round, and, you know, there's 26 cars here today. There's lots of new drivers from karting. We're involved in karting ourselves, and, you know, there's a lot of kids there that are coming through to car racing, and they need to know where to go. I mean, Civic Cup's a great place for them. A lot of people coming up from junior series. You know, we support the Fiesta Juniors, which is doing well again now. So, you know, there's a place for them at Civic Cup, and then ultimately they all need to go TCR, which is what it's all about, really.
That's what we want to see, and of course that's all going to be helped now along next year, 2024. It's terrifying to think it's only just around the corner, really, but already plans in place for next year, and some big announcements in the last couple of weeks about TCR and the Civic Cup sort of place alongside them. They're a full season companion championship again next year.
Yeah, we've got Civic Cup official, we've got Audi TT Cup, we've got Fiesta Juniors, Fiesta Seniors, who are with us for the whole season. We've put this package together this year in a bit of a hurry. Now we've fine-tuned it. Also, we recognise that the TCR race, there's lots and lots of older TCR cars out there that have not necessarily entered many meetings or 9 metres at all. So we've given those guys a chance to win championships and trophies, which is important because not everybody has got the budget to be in a Gen 2 TCR car. So, you know, we're trying to make it a place for everybody, really. I mean, and I think, as you can see from this year, the crowds have got bigger, the live streams got bigger. There's a lot of things that have increased, and, you know, it's all about fine-tuning.
And about stability as well, and I think having that package announced nice and early, that's a big part of that. It means that if people are tuning in at home on the live stream, people are thinking of coming along to the circuit next year, we can guarantee them a great weekend of racing. Yeah,
I mean, yeah, all the support races are fantastic to watch. I mean, I love watching the kids race. Hopefully my son will be there soon, you know, he's only a year or two and he'll be racing with them, and, you know, and then when they're 16, it all depends on who your sponsor or what your budget is. You can go straight into a TCR because there's support from the manufacturers now for the young drivers, or you can spend a year in Civic or the other championships that are on the package. Which, you know, it's about inclusion. You know, look, I'm not a wealthy person. I'm from a council house, shall I say? You know what I mean? I'm just like everybody else. And, you know, racing's expensive. I used to do motocross when I was younger because that's what I could afford. I could never afford to race a car. But we're just trying to make it so lots of people can get involved.
Fantastic. It's certainly an exciting place to be at the moment. Thank you, Stuart, for having a chat with us. I'm sure he's looking forward to the weekend's action here at Silverstone. Head over to the Civic Cup social media pages to keep up with all of the action from this weekend and any more news and updates about next year.
Let it go.
Do you wonder why your competitors' websites appear in Google searches ahead of you? Then make a call to the SEO experts Warrior and understand how your business can be more visible online. As the official marketing partner of TCR UK, you can now work with a trusted search engine optimization partner to increase web traffic, inquiries and sales. Speak to us for your free audit and quote by visiting warrior.co.uk today.
1, 2, testing, 1, 2. Good to go. Well, welcome back to Silverstone then, where the cars have now made it down to the assembly area ahead of their third and final race of the weekend. And, well, we've got the championship protagonists all back at the front again, with Dan Thackeray and Max Edmondson once more sharing the front row of the grid. We've got about 15 minutes or so, I think, before the cars are released. So let's have a chat to a few of the drivers again. And he's probably sick of chatting to me now, actually, but we need to keep talking to our championship leader, I think. And Dan Thackeray is once again starting at the pointy end. Dan, really solid day for you so far. Really, any points you can get now out of this last race are going to be good, but you've got Max and Ali right behind you again.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the race 2 worked out for us. I mean, I feel like if the safety car ended a couple of laps sooner, I may have made some more progress. I mean, I had to make some good moves, try and capitalise on point gaps. I mean, I just need to closing down some points. So when I had a shot at making an overtake, I had to go for it and make it stick. But this race is going to be, I fear, a repeat of race 1. I mean, if I can get a car's length gap and maybe put my own laps together, I might be all right, but I'm not sure that these two will let me have one of those.
Well, no, because Max is fired up, he wants to win, and of course Ali's got it all to do now to try and bounce back from his various dramas. So do you feel that the pressure's more on you now as the points leader, or is it more on them to try and do something about you? Because so far this weekend, really, you've been the pace setter.
Yeah, for once. I mean, normally we have, say, one good race and one bad one. So to have, I'd say, 2 good races so far, it's a nice place to be. I don't think it matters that much at the moment. I feel like they're probably just going to want to take a win home after, especially with Campy having a bad day. I think he's probably just going to want to get as many points as he can on me, so he's going to be up the inside of me, I doubt, down here.
We're looking forward to that. You might not be, but we certainly are. Good luck, Dan, for that third race coming up momentarily. Tell you what, we'll jump straight to third place, man. Doing his best as usual to run away from me. I get that a lot. Right then, you've had quite the day, haven't you? What was the latest drama?
Engine and box, latest drama. So there's a lad behind you. All messing about as well.
Professional as always in the Civic Cup. Yeah, so engine problems took you out of the earlier race. In a bit of a hole now as far as the points are concerned, but in a way takes the pressure off, doesn't it? You've just got to go out there and win races.
Go out and drive. It is what it is now. He's got it. Prolo just lent us an engine. Chris at Hutchin Racing and Toby literally smashed it out of the park as always. 2 hours, they've changed the box, engine, a lot done. So yeah, can't ask for any more, mate. So it's down to me now.
The thing is as well, the frustrating thing, I suppose, you've had really good pace this weekend, haven't you? So had you not had the problems, could even have been race wins up to this point. Now with the pressure off, really, they've got to watch out, haven't they? Because you've nothing to lose.
Yeah, 100%. It's all to play for again, isn't it, for me? So at the end of the day, I've come from being in the nice position coming into it, going away now chasing it, and we'll go to Branch chasing it. But yeah, see what we can do and go from there, really.
Good stuff. Best of luck, Alistair Camp. Then third place on the grid for this race. Right then, the other championship contender, might as well have another chat with him whilst we're up here as well, is Max Edmondson. And Max is looking very relaxed, as always, actually. You were telling me just now that you were a bit frustrated after race 2, felt the result could have been even better, but nonetheless, you banked some good points.
Yeah, I mean, I was up to P5 from 9th going into turn 2 and made a silly mistake, shall we say, so I was very angry with myself. So I made up some decent places, but yeah, I'm happy with the result. It could have been a lot worse. Yeah.
They're putting you off behind me again, aren't they?
Yeah.
We'll ignore that. We'll ignore that. You were doing the maths as well about points and what you need to do to try and get the championship lead. Psychologically, would it be important for you to have the lead going into Brands Hatch, or are you not too bothered as long as you're there or thereabouts?
I mean, was I leading after quali? I think I was, wasn't I?
Yeah.
So, well, I'm happy now then. I've led the championship at least for an hour or two, so I'm happy. Obviously, ideally, I want to be ahead of Dan going into last round. It's not really an advantage, but it is, because obviously anything can happen because you can't drop points or anything. So it's not really going to make an advantage, but obviously, if you gain that 1 point you need to win the championship, then obviously it's all to play for. So I think it's better to go in the lead, but I don't think it really makes much of a difference, is it?
No, probably not. It's going to be close either way, I think. Best of luck for this last race then. Now, let's have a little wander a bit further back down the grid, shall we? Because there are a few drivers that we haven't had the chance to talk to so far this weekend. Row 3, by the way, we'll have Dave Marshall and Sam Kirkpatrick back up near the pointy end once again. But one driver I do want to try and have a chat with is Sam Nicolau, who is not actually near his car. So we won't have a chat with Sam, but he will be starting from a pretty strong 7th on the grid. Will Redford alongside him in 8th position. Then we get to Lewis Kent, who's on that 5th row of the grid. He was down there just a moment or two ago chatting to Max Edmondson. No, here he is, actually, Lewis Kent. Tell you what, we'll have a midway up the grid pit stop and interrupt another important conversation to speak once more to our Civic Cup rookie. It's been a while since you were a rookie in anything, Lewis, but how would you say your first day at school's been going?
Half and half. First race, really enjoyed it. Had loads and loads of fun racing Harvey, some of the other boys, you know, Dave Buki, Dave Marshall, all those boys. It was a good race. That last race, I drove very much like a rookie. I put myself in situations I shouldn't have. Yeah, just drove like a total idiot from start to finish, really. Hopefully this race I've sort of starting to learn that it's not as much of a long race as I'm used to, so I can't just chill out for 15 minutes and do 10 minutes attack. So yeah, I'm going to go a bit more attack in this race. I think from lap 1 I'm going to be a bit more on it, and yeah, just see where we can get up to.
It's a very different style of racing, isn't it, to TCR? We look at the cars, they're front-wheel drive, you know, a bit slower, obviously, but fairly similar-looking cars, and yet the way that they race out on track is very different. So has that taken a bit of adjusting to as well?
Yeah, it is full attack from, like, turn 1. Usually, as I say, you're trying to look after your tyres for 25 minutes rather than 15. So you sit there for 10, 15 minutes, you're sitting behind the person in front, pushing around. If you pick up the place here and there, you're doing all right. With this, it is literally from lap 1, you're having to push on and attack. It takes a little bit of getting used to. I'm starting to get my head around it now. You know, the last lap of that race, I think I overtook 3 people in 1 lap to go from 11th to 8th on the last lap. So, yeah, I'm starting to slowly get used to it. But yeah, we're enjoying it. That's the main thing. Like, I'm here to enjoy it. I'm not here to go out and win championships. I haven't got any expectations. I literally came here to enjoy myself, which I'm doing so far, so I'm happy.
Good stuff. Thank you very much, Lewis Kent, Bradley Kent's brother, who has been racing in TCR UK this season. Right then, a bit further down the order, we've got Ryan Jenkinson alongside us. Had a quick chat with him earlier on, being run by the Ben Sharp Racing team. Ben himself, a former champion in Civic Cup. Tommy Knight starting up alongside him. Tell you what, let's have a chat with Tommy, shall we? Who's just having a little chat with one of the team members. Tommy, opportunity to come and have a word with you ahead of this 3rd race. You've had a pretty quiet weekend, it seems. Would that be a fair assessment?
Yeah, well, it's been pretty quiet, but we've been on the pace. Like the times have been good all weekend, or today anyway. But it's just making that ground, isn't it? It's trying to get up with trying to not make a mistake and losing a couple of car lengths, because by then, like in race 2, I dropped back a little bit. But by the time I caught the pack again, checkered flag come out. So It's just staying out of trouble and trying to stay with them.
And it's one of those frustrating circuits, isn't it, where if you do drop a second, that's a big chunk of time around a track where everyone's within a couple of tenths.
100%, 100%. Like I said, it happened in race 1 and 2. I was with the leading group, a couple of altercations, car length. By the time you catch them, it's the end of the race. So, yeah, we'll see how we get on with this one, but...
Running with Area Motorsport as well, obviously now I think you're relatively new to all of this, aren't you? So working with such an experienced team as that, how much have they been helping you? What really have they been trying to work on with you?
Oh, massively, massively. I mean, it's not a plug for them, but Area have been amazing, like they really have. I'm new to front wheel drive. It's a totally different ball game for me, but they've been nothing but help. Even back testing and that, they've really helped me trying to progress, getting up the grid. So we'll go again next season and try and get a little bit more. But this isn't an easy championship to make progress. So.
Good stuff. Well, Tommy, thanks for having a chat. We'll see you a bit later on. Best of luck for the race. Now, I've just spotted, here we go. This will save me a trip to the back of the grid. Ryan Bensley, I chatted to Alistair Camp a moment ago, said he's had a bit of a tricky weekend. Tricky doesn't begin to cover what's been going on with you, has it?
Oh, you just can't believe what happened. Yeah, went off in qualifying on the warm-up lap. We don't know, it's a bit of a strange accident, just backed into the wall. It's just one of them things. Team done an outstanding job though, getting the car back out. It was absolutely unbelievable. Couldn't believe that I was getting out for race 1. They were just incredible. So, you know, all testament to them. They've been absolutely outstanding.
And they got the car fixed somehow. Obviously, pace hasn't been quite what you would have hoped for with a battered up car, but they've had a bit more time now. Have they fine-tuned it a bit more now for race 3?
Yeah, so we didn't have a chance to track it race 1 and 2. Josh actually done the rear tow by eye before race 2. It was still quite a long way out, but I won't hold that against him. But we should be all straight and tracked up now, so I should have some handling and a car that should be able to move forwards.
As far as your season's gone, obviously the championship now looking like a real long shot after the problems earlier on today, but you must be so happy with the massive step forward that you've taken this season. I mean, you were reasonably competitive last year, but now really making that step towards the front, genuine championship contender. Got to be satisfied with that at least.
I'm happy but not satisfied, because I always want more, but I'm very unhappy with what happened today. That's always haunting me at the minute, is obviously what the error that I made today is essentially gifted the championship, although it was up against me anyway because of the points gap. But when we look back from the beginning of the year and then where I am now as a driver, then certainly it's night and day. I can't really recognise the driver that I was. I have to credit Josh Cook for that. Me and him work closely together. We don't just work a lot on data and driving technique. It's also about, you know, how we engineer the car. We do a lot of testing, what different settings do to the car, how to adjust my technique with different setups and things like that. So, you know, as a credit to him as well. But the team are giving me a good car all year, so I can't fault that. You know, other than me throwing it into the wall, I can't fault them.
Well, look, don't be too hard on yourself, mate. You've had a really good season. We'll let you get back to your car and continue preparations then for our next race. Now, here's a man that I wouldn't mind having a chat with, actually. No, I'm after you, Morgan. I'm after you, Morgan. Morgan Bailey, everyone, who you may recognise from having had success in Civic Cup in the past. Morgan, unfortunately not racing at the back end of the season, but great to still have you in the paddock. What brings you to Silverstone?
Sporting Jack. Obviously, it's one of the cars that we built. We're running him this weekend. And he had some good pace in qualifying, but a little mistake in the first race cost him, but he's still learning. He's coming on well. Yeah.
And you're giving him some feedback as well, are you, and trying to help him? Because obviously you've been a race winner in this category. You know what it takes to run with those quick guys. It ain't easy, is it?
No. It's all experience, isn't it? Which, yeah, he's doing well. Can't fault him. Yeah.
Let's have a word with him, shall we then? See if we can dive in and have a quick chat with Jack Riddell. Jack, interesting day for you so far. That opening race was pretty lively, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's definitely lively. Definitely happy with qualifying because I did no testing at all. Never driven this track in this car, but we got set up just right. So managed to put it, what was it, 12th I think for the first race. But we got a good start for the first race, but unfortunately going into the third corner we locked the back brakes because the back tyres were too cold. So
and of course,
unfortunate, yeah.
And cold tyres as well, that's always a real tricky thing here, isn't it, at Silverstone? And now it's a bit cooler for race 3, that's got to be on your mind again.
Yeah, definitely. For race 2 I took it a bit easy on the first lap, definitely into the third corner, so yeah, it's definitely something to think about.
Good stuff. We'll leave you to your preparations then. Jack Riddell starting right slap bang in the middle of the grid, and looking forward, I'm sure, to getting stuck into the race as well. Owen Hillman, we haven't spoke to Owen yet. He's just gloving up and getting ready to go. I don't think we're far away from releasing the cars onto the track, but Owen, first chance we've had to catch up this weekend. It's been a tad frustrating, hasn't it?
Yeah, a bit of a rough day for me. Qualifying didn't quite go how I wanted it to. I was up on a good lap and then lost 4 tenths in the final corner. So, you know, with a track like this where it's so close, it would have been nice to be a little bit further up. But yeah, bit of a rough first race as well. Made a mistake in the second corner, dropped back, and then again trying to make passes round here is pretty hard work. So, and a gearboxing race too. So hopefully a little bit of redemption in this one and put together a good race. Finish off the weekend strong sort of thing, so we'll see how it goes.
Working with Pro Alloys Racing this year, obviously the biggest team on the grid, quite clearly. How much help has that been, though? Because you've got some really experienced drivers in there and some drivers who are still learning their craft. There's a bit of everything, isn't there?
Yeah, definitely. So we're a big team, but I feel like we've got a really good balance. You know, you've got guys at the front of the field that help pull the guys to the mid and the rear of the field along. So, you know, I don't feel like we've really got anyone standing on each other's feet. It's a good dynamic. We've obviously got Josh Cook doing the coaching and stuff with us as well. So it's I think we've got a really good setup, and you know, we've only been in the paddock for 2 years, and in that 2 years I think we've grown to a pretty strong team. So I'm looking forward to next year. Yeah, a few more Civics and I think a few TCR cars as well in the future. So be exciting times.
Good stuff. Thank you, Owen. Best of luck for the race then, which, like I said, is only a couple of minutes away. Let's see who else we can have a little word with then, as the engines are starting to fire up, but I think we've still got maybe time to catch up with one more driver. And I tell you what, let's go and have a chat with Jordan Brennan then, because unfortunately Jordan's another who's not had the best of times really this weekend. Things haven't entirely been going to plan for Jordan. Unfortunately, Jordan, that's a conversation that we seem to have quite often. A little bit of bad luck coming your way.
Yeah, it's not been a good season this yeyear. We've had issues at every round, and I think today's probably been the worst we've had. So, issue in qualifying with drive shaft bolts stripping out the block, and then drive shaft in race 1, electrical issue in race 2, and then another electrical issue getting ready for this race. So
oh, really?
It's been full on, but yeah, it was an alternator went just before the race, so we swapped the alternator over and we should be good to go.
Well, fingers crossed for you, because we know that you're quick and you enjoy getting stuck in the race as well, don't you? We've seen you come from deep in the field before, so if the car's working right, how confident are you that you can make progress?
Well, I've not done many laps around here, so it's hard to say, but I mean, hopefully we can get past a few of these and then crack on with it, I think.
Good stuff. All right, we'll let you carry on with your preparations then. Jordan Brennan will be starting from, as we've said, a bit further down the grid than he would like to be, but we know he is a quick driver, so hopefully he'll have a bit more good fortune in this race than we've seen from him previously. Right, I think we are not that far away from getting cars released out onto the circuit. We're nearly at the back of the grid anyway, so a good time for me, I think, to start my journey back to the commentary box to join Phil Kinch to talk you through all of the action in the third and final race of the weekend here at Silverstone for the Milltek Sport Civic Cup.
by side. Who's going to be the bigger man?
For voice and data solutions at speeds that are simply out of this world, choose Maximum Networks.
Do you wonder why your competitors' websites appear in Google searches ahead of you? Then make a call to the SEO experts Warrior and understand how your business can be more visible online. As the official marketing partner of TCR UK, you can now work with a trusted search engine optimization partner to increase web traffic, inquiries and sales. Speak to us for your free audit and quote by visiting warrior.co.uk today.
So the final race of the weekend then here at Silverstone about to get underway. Cars lined up on the grid and 15 minutes ahead of us to set the scene really for the final rounds at Brands Hatch next month. We are racing towards the end of the 2023 season, which at times feels like it's only just begun, but we've had so much action over the course of the year, and there's more to be had, I think, out of our Silverstone Saturday. Andy McEwen and Phil Kinch here to talk you through the action then around the Silverstone National Circuit. We've seen exactly what kind of racing this place can produce throughout the course of the day. Long, wide straights, lots of slipstreaming, big braking zones to try and make some moves, and thankfully that rain has just about held off, although it's definitely getting chillier out there as we head towards the end of the day. But a dry circuit, colder temperatures, I think, than we had for race number 2. That's going to create some lively moments, I think, at the beginning of the race. Car's about to head out onto their green flag lap then, but Phil, your thoughts ahead of this one? 6 points now between the top two in the championship, but I don't really think we've seen the last of Alistair Camp just yet.
I don't think so, and to be honest, he's starting third on the grid because the race 3 grid's based on the second fastest qualifying times of qualifying. I'm going to put it on the line. I think Campy's going to go for a win. He needs to go all out for that one, and we'll see how he can do.
He's got to, really, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Got to try and get a win here at least, and then try to do something special at Brands Hatch. Cars then on their warm-up lap. Let's take a look at how they're going to line up for our third and final race. It is, as Phil said, the second fastest qualifying times for each driver that sets the grid. So Dan Thackeray gets himself back onto the pole position with Max Edmondson alongside him as they prepare for a rematch after their battle in race 1 earlier on this morning. Alistair Camp starts third with a new engine, whilst Dave Buki shares that second row with him. Dave Marshall's been fast all weekend. He starts from 5th alongside the race 2 winner, Sam Kirkpatrick. Then it's Sam Nicolau 7th alongside Will Redford in the Pro Alloys racing car. Lewis Kent starts from 9th with Harvey Caton at the back of the top 10, whilst row 6 is then shared by Ryan Jenkinson and Chris Nyland, who have the pole position for race number 2. Jack Riddell is next, 13th place for him. Tommy Knight is teammate alongside with Owen Hillman and Louis Hounsell next, also teammates running on the 8th row of the grid. Alex Kite is there on row 9 with Jordan Brennan, the lookless Jordan Brennan, starting 18th on the grid. Anthony Gannon, double Diamond Trophy winner so far today, starts 19th alongside Travis Chapman. Then it will be Nick Charlier and Mark Hughes, with Simon Welch and Ryan Bensley coming from the back of the field in a car that might now vaguely resemble a Honda Civic again after its huge accident in qualifying earlier on today. First 2 races have produced, as you might expect really, 2 different winners with those that reverse grid. It's also produced this championship picture. Dan Thackeray 6 points clear of Max Edmondson. It's actually the widest that gap has been at any point so far this weekend. Alistair Camp that little bit further back now, 343 points, but as we were saying, not out of it at all. And Ryan Bensley mathematically could still win the championship, although coming from the back in this race, it's quite likely that he'll be out of the picture when we head to Brands Hatch, which is a massive shame really, Phil, because Ryan Bensley's been a completely different driver this year and really deserved better than that.
He has, yeah. He's really improved this year. He's really made a lot of gains, and like I say, Cadwell worked out really well from his race win and his pole position, so it is a shame to see him, but we know he can come through and he's a proven race winner in the past.
He is indeed. How much progress can he make from the back of the field, and what's going to happen between those three? That's where we need to focus the attention really. Dan Thackeray on pole, Max Edmondson second, 6 points between them in the championship, and Alistair Camp in third, needing a bit of a Hail Mary now really to get him back into the picture. Slightly odd positioning of the car there for Max Edmondson, second on the grid, but that's legal just about, I think. Yeah. He's not gone too far through his box, quite the opposite actually, but he'll be looking to try and get into that first corner.
And Alistair Camp giving himself a bit of a gap on his grid spot as well, so...
You're right, actually, a few of them leaving quite a bit of wiggle room. Right then, ready to go racing here at Silverstone then, as the red lights are about to come on. A bit of confusion as the timing screen says the race has already started. Now it gets underway, and off towards Copse Corner they will go. Someone a bit trigger happy there with the but nothing, but the race does now get underway. Into Copse Corner they go. Thackeray holds the advantage. Edmondson second, and look at Marshall. Dave Marshall around the outside. Contact further back though. Around has gone Sam Nicolau. He's off into the runoff area. One of the area motorsport cars as well. Oh, is that Riddell? Is that Tommy Knight? Can't quite see, but drama at the first turn. It is Thackeray from Edmondson from Marshall, the top three. Camp in fourth, Buki there in fifth, Kirkpatrick sixth, and that, Phil, has really split the pack.
Already we've had action, like we know. The temperatures are lower, the track is colder, cold tyres, so they're already trying to push as soon as they can in the 15 minutes they've got. And again, we're back to race one. We've got Max Edmondson chasing down Dan Thackeray. Dave Marshall's back into third position. Camp has fallen down to fourth. And already you've got Dave Buki with a slight moment as Sam Kirkpatrick tries to pass him, and Lewis Kemp back into the mix as well. Getting memories of deja vu on this one.
Yes, it really does remind me of race one already, this, with those two in particular together. Harvey Kate needs to join that battle, really does need to properly recreate what happened in the first race, and I think he's on his way. Right, leaders across the line then. Thackeray the leader, Edmondson second, but Edmondson's got the run, and this is what Dan said he was fearing. He couldn't escape at the front in race one. Edmondson pushed him all the way, and it looks as though race three will be the same. That is
Travis Chapman,
unfortunately must have had some involvement in that instance. Sam Nicolau following him in as well, so those two destined for retirement. The leaders though arrive down at Beckett's, almost overlapping. Big locking of the rear brakes for the leader and for Marshall in third, but Edmondson is going to try and go right round the outside. Thackeray shows him the edge of the road, and Max Edmondson, that's going to rile him up a bit. He still gets a good run down the back straight, and with a slipstream here might just be able to attack down into Brooklands.
It's very close between them, isn't it? Edmondson's sticking with Thackeray, Camp in fourth and Marshall ahead, so Camp's got some work to do to try and claw back some of those points. Harvey Caton catching up with his old friend Lewis Kent as we go into Brooklands for the second time of asking. Meanwhile, Edmondson, as we say, chasing Thackeray, hunting him down. Marshall's already had a podium today in race two, so there's no reason to think why he can't do it again the way he's standing already.
Absolutely, but again, this is on genuine pace, not a reverse grid race here. He's managed to go from fifth on the grid to third, and he's catching the race leaders. As it stands, 12 points would be Dan Thackeray's championship lead. Max Edmondson, though, wants to do something about that. Forces the race leader to defend into Copse Corner, and will that now give Edmondson the better exit speed, or could it be Marshall, perhaps, who tries to mount a challenge? Edmondson goes to the outside, tries to find a gap, tries to carry that momentum down towards Beckett's corner, and it almost works. He gets his nose ahead. Thackeray has to be the last of the late breakers on the inside line, and Max knows what's going to happen next. Oh, they both go way off the track, and there goes Camp. Alistair Camp up the inside of the lot of them. He's cleared Dave Marshall. He's alongside Max Edmondson, but I don't think he's quite going to be able to move into second place.
He's hovering there, and Camp is well in the mix. As we said, he's going to take every advantage he can. In fact, he's going to drive around the outside of Marshall. That's impressive stuff.
That was outrageously late on the brakes for Alistair Camp. It didn't work, but 10 out of 10 for effort. Max Edmondson getting a helping hand now from Dave Marshall. This has got drama written all over it, hasn't it? Thackeray clearly doesn't have the pace to get away. Every time he defends from Edmondson, it bottles the whole pack up, and he's got a real pressure cooker feel about it. This again, Thackeray defending already as they come out of Woodcote Corner, and Edmondson tries to find a gap on the inside. That gap doesn't exist, so he cuts back to the outside line. Does he try and go the long way round? No, tries for the switchback move instead, but Thackeray is placing that car perfectly, Phil.
He is. He's defending very, very well, but it's keeping the pack very, very close. So whilst he's doing a good job of defending, he's also allowing the others to close up on him. And each time you're getting Edmondson trying to go around the outside, Maggots and Beckett's, and then trying to get a run down to Brooklands. But at the same time, you're also seeing Marshall keeping in touch, although Buki's now trying to close on Camp and seeing if he can make any progress.
Yeah, and Sam Kirkpatrick gaining on them as well there. So we've got 6 for the lead now as they head down the Wellington Straight for the 4th time of asking. Edmondson again looks to the inside, can't do it, goes to the outside instead, just trying to outfox Dan Thackeray, trying to wriggle away through if he can. The Motion Motorsport car leads the Area Motorsport car then at the front of the field, and in fact we've got 5 different teams, haven't we, represented in the top 5 positions, which is incredible. Sam Kirkpatrick, the second Area Motorsport car in this group, shows how competitive this championship is these days. No one team dominating.
No, and the thing is as well, we've got plenty of EP3 Civics running, as we can see at the front. Dave Marshall's FN2, so you can't even say there's not sort of any comparity between the 2 different models. It's very, very close. It's great to see.
Absolutely is. Right then, out of Copse they go. Things settling down a bit more on this lap, at least for the lead, although Sam Kirkpatrick there had a bit of a run on Dave Buki, I think, for 5th as they head towards Beckett's once again. Thackeray covers the inside line. Edmondson keeps trying this outside line, but he knows what's going to happen if he stays there. He's in danger of getting run off the road entirely, and that could cost him 2nd place. So Edmondson has to box clever here. Thackeray has shown already what he's willing to do to defend this race lead, which means that Edmondson has to approach the battle with a little bit of caution.
Indeed, he's got to work away almost outside of the box. He's trying everything possible. You can see he's trying the outside line into Maggots and Beckett's. He's tried the outside line trying to close into Luffield and Brooklands and Luffield. So, and again, he's taking the wider line to get a better acceleration, even put my teeth in gear, to close down and keep Dan. Dan is effectively the cork in the bottle. He's the one holding them up. And I get the feeling if Max was able to get past, the door would be open. He may not stay where he is. So definitely working hard with 9 minutes left to go.
And that's why that 12-point cushion as it stands, is not a substantial one really, because that could well disappear entirely if he loses a couple of places and Edmondson gets the lead. Sam Kirkpatrick did get past Dave Buki, by the way, with that move, so he's into the top 5 positions now, whilst Harvey Caton's got ahead of Lewis Kent. We've heard that before today, haven't we? We know those two have been very evenly matched as Dave Marshall just about gets the FN2 stop for Beckett's. He's going to run wide on the exit, though, and that almost gives Alistair Camp a chance to get alongside. But we do hear drivers say quite often, don't we, Phil, that when a new engine is put in the car, it needs to be run in. It needs to run a few miles before it really starts to perform as it should.
Yeah, it doesn't have everything there already, so they've got to work with what they have. Alistair's going to be trying to make sure he can get the best out of the engine, but also making sure he can get to the end of the race with it, because the last thing he needs after the disastrous race 1 and race 2 results he's had is for something to go wrong in race 3. So he's going to be pushing hard, but also wary of what the engine can give him.
Out of Luffield they come then, and Marshall now starts to defend a bit from the Pro Alloys racing car. It maybe just allows those top 2 to break away. But we saw this in race 1, didn't we, Phil? The mid part of the race, Thackeray got away from Edmondson. We thought that was Thackeray getting quicker. Well, he is, because he just set the fastest lap of the race, 105.821.
He's listening.
But then Edmondson came back at him at the end of the race. So I was going to ask you whether you think the same thing's happening. I think maybe we've just had our answer. Thackeray is just pushing, isn't he?
He's pushing as hard as possible. I wonder if, like we say, Edmondson is giving a little bit of room and waiting to come back at him. But Thackeray is pushing and giving everything he can, defending every way possible. He knows that Edmondson is there, so he's doing the best job he can. In a championship situation, you've got to take every advantage you can. So yeah, Marshall is gapped ahead of Camp. Kirkpatrick and Buki are closing in on Camp, so again he could have more to deal with as we get into the later stages. In fact, he's gone very wide at Brooklands, so yeah, that's not exactly what Alistair needed as Kirkpatrick goes past, although he's going to fight back on the inside of Luffield. And that's a bit tight and door to door. Yeah, this is going to be fun. We'll see how this one goes, because we've already seen side by side out of Woodcote, and generally the pass attempted into Copse, and they're still side by side as we come on to start the next lap, and Buki's joining the party to go 3 wide down the start finish straight.
Oh, I'm not sure that's a
I
good
don't like
idea.
this, no.
Backs out of it, sensible stuff
Yes.
there. Actually, doesn't back out of it fully, gets past Sam Kirkpatrick, and now
Yes.
Harvey Caton arrives on the scene at 1,000,000 miles an hour, and he will pull up alongside the number 4 car as well. So that ends up with Camp back into 4th. 5th place is Buki, and 6th still Sam Kirkpatrick.
Kirkpatrick's still coming.
Oh, so late on the brakes there. Harvey Caton, again, will now get shoveled off the road. There we go. That is the price that you pay for trying to go around the outside of someone at Beckett's, although actually he's still there.
He's got lovely momentum coming out of Beckett's and is side by side with Kirkpatrick, so maybe he might be able to get that place back. Where are we? He's still side by side, so as they go into Brooklands, we'll see if Harvey can pull this one off and make the move and make it stick, and he has done, although Kirkpatrick is sticking right by them. He's still got part of the front bumper inside as they go around Luffield. Can he hold on? He's trying. Again, we're going to see another side-by-side down the start-finish straight with these two, and we had this a lap ago. Harvey is really buoyed after getting his podium in race 2, so he's well up for seeing how he can finish off today's racing.
Fastest man on the track this lap was Dan Thackeray, but actually the second fastest man, Dave Marshall. Dave Marshall was nearly 2/10 quicker than Max Edmondson that time, so he has shaken off Alistair Camp and is heading back off after the top 2. Kirkpatrick there fending off Harvey Caton. Lewis Kent now starting to close on the pair of them as well as they make their way down towards Beckett.
They're all Caton on the inside at Beckett's as well.
Yeah, I think he's going to go through, but then drifts a bit wide. Kirkpatrick gets the switchback manoeuvre made perfectly, and once again they go wheel to wheel down the back straight.
It's almost like we're playing a repeating record. Again, this is the equality. This is what we like about the Civic Cup. The racing is so close. The cars are so close. And it's very difficult to be able to get the good results, as we see Lewis Kent trying to line up to see if he can benefit from Harvey Caton defending from Sam Kirkpatrick. Again, Caton stays ahead, Kirkpatrick behind him, Lewis closing in quite nicely. This is what we like in the Civic Cup. Nice, good, hard, close racing. It's nice and clean as well, and everyone is pushing as hard as they can to try and finish the day off in the best position possible.
Indeed so. Lewis Kent, I'm sure, won't be particularly satisfied with 8th place. He'll want to try and move a few spots further up if he can. He's got the headlights on and trying to signal his intent maybe to the cars ahead. Thackeray, meanwhile, pumping in these fastest laps of the race. A 1:05.549 compares to Alistair Camp's fastest lap earlier on, 1:05.47. So we're fractionally off the pace from this morning, but that's still a very good lap from Thackeray. I think that is his fastest race lap of the day, and he's now 8/10 clear of Edmondson. That's the biggest lead I think anyone's had all day.
It is, yeah. He's really pulled out a gap now, and like I said, this is what he did in race 1 before Edmondson came back at him, but he's managed to maintain this now for several laps. So Thackeray, I think, is showing that he can pull the gap, he can maintain it, and it's now down to Marshall to see, I suppose, if he can push Edmondson and cause a mistake out of him.
So Kirkpatrick trying to do the same thing to Harvey Caton as they head through Brooklands. Lots of different lines that you can take through that tightening left-hander, and in the end they come out pretty equally. Caton again drifting a bit wide of the apex there at Luffield, but that gives him slightly better momentum on the exit and allows him to keep Kirkpatrick at bay. Leaders go through, another 10th gained by Thackeray now as Mark Hughes' hastily repaired FN2 is about to be put a lap down, but Thackeray really getting away from Edmondson, and this perhaps is why, because Edmondson is under threat now from Dave Marshall. Marshall, not a championship contender, but has no reason to go easy here on Max Edmondson. If he can get past Max into second, that is good news for Thackeray.
Exactly, and as well as that, it'll also add to Dave's podium tally in recent races. So, as we said earlier in the commentary, he's really happy from having his race win from Cadwell. He's added to that today with the 3rd place, and there's nothing stopping him wanting to go for second on the podium. So they're managing to get past Mark Hughes. He's keeping out the way, but what Max will defend, and that's going to slow him up, giving Thackeray even more of an advantage.
Wide for Edmondson, didn't quite get back to the second apex either, so a bit of front end grip maybe going away on the Area Motorsport car. Again, he's scrubbing the front tyres through Luffield, didn't get onto the apex curb at any point, and so I think maybe the handling's going away slightly on that car. That left front tyre starting to cry enough. They're limited, aren't they, on how many tyres they can have over the course of a weekend. This is a triple header weekend. They had qualifying this morning too, so it is possible, in fact quite likely I'd say, that the drivers are now on tyres that have done a fair few miles. Understandable therefore that maybe some of them are running out of grip.
And basically, whilst that's happening, also going into tyre management mode as best they can, so you're going to have some in a better position than others whilst they try and get through the last 2.5 minutes of the race.
Dave Marshall then on the attack, again neater, tidier, tighter through Beckett's corner, then tucks into that slipstream down the Wellington straight. He's close enough to have a go, but Dave, I'm sure, will be mindful of the fact that Edmondson is in the championship fight. That doesn't mean that he'll let Max have it, but he will, I'm sure, want to make absolutely sure that a move he makes is clean. Doesn't want to risk any contact. Black and white warning flag, by the way, for car 28. That's Louis Hounsell for track limits. Louis running inside the top 10 now, in 10th position, the best we've seen of him today.
Oh, that's Nick Charlier having
he's got lost again.
Another off-track excursion. Yeah, he's found his way back on again, though. Keep going, Nick, you're doing well.
That's Beckett's again. That's what I think that's where he went off in the earlier race,
yes,
isn't it?
It is. He's checking his sat-nav each time, I think. In the meantime, as we say, we've got Marshall sticking with Edmondson, and at the same time, it's sort of spreading out now. So this is the main fight we've got inside the top 10, really. These two, Edmondson and Marshall, fighting for second place. And I do believe it could be a matter of time before Marshall does get past. He is pushing quite hard, and it's down to Edmondson to make sure that he gets a finish. It's more important that he finishes than a non-finish.
Exactly so. However, only a lap and a half of this race to go. So if Marshall's going to do it, he's going to have to do it pretty swiftly. He can get close to Edmondson, but hasn't yet really shown a nose to the youngster as they drop down into Brooklands for the penultimate time of asking. Both of them braking pretty much simultaneously there, and well, it looks as though Marshall's car is handling a bit better, but you can't drive through another car through the corner. So as long as Edmondson's ahead going into the braking zone and doesn't make a big mistake, I'm not sure there's a way through here for Dave.
No, and he is pushing everywhere. He's looking everywhere possible. He's staying in the slipstream. He's keeping with Edmondson each time round. I think we're coming on to the last lap as it stands. So he is running out of opportunities now, and he needs to be that little bit closer to be able to try and make an overtake work.
Final lap begins then here at Silverstone. In the background there we saw Alistair Camp, Dave Buki and Harvey Caton running through. They were still 4th, 5th and 6th respectively, so points for Camp, but nowhere near as many as he would have liked to have taken from this race. It's all going to be about putting together a perfect Brands Hatch for him and hoping for some misfortune for the other two. Remember, they can't drop their scores from Brands Hatch, so if you have a non-finish, that can be disastrous for the championship. That's exactly what happened last year to Alistair Camp, actually, at the final round at Snetterton. Down into Brooklands, though, come the top three. Looks unlikely to change now, doesn't it? Dan Thackeray, I think, on course for a race victory, his second of the day. And for Dan, that will be his 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th win of the season, and puts him one step closer, doesn't it, to the championship. Really going into that final round, he's going to have a healthy little points lead, and he'll be arriving there with momentum after a spectacular Silverstone weekend for Dan. He comes out of the final turn, he sees the checkered flag, and he wins the third and final race here at Silverstone. Second place goes to Max Edmondson, and it's third for Dave Marshall, Alistair Camp in 4th, Dave Buki 5th, and Harvey Caton completes that top 6 ahead of Lewis Kent, Sam Kirkpatrick, Ryan Jenkinson and Louis Hounsell. So great to have those two actually in the top 10 as well. Ryan Jenkinson on his return to Civic Cup racing, and Louis Hounsell likewise, although his first weekend out of the production class. So really solid stuff for them. But it's Dan Thackeray, Phil, who gets that race win, and as I said, takes with it more than just the 40 points, or 41 actually, because he got the fastest lap as well, but momentum into Brands Hatch, and that can be huge.
Exactly, he's got that gap now. There are 2 races at Brands next month in October for the finale. There's a total score of 88 points that can be taken there, so that 12-point lead is going to give him some comfort as he gets into Brands. But at the same time, Max Edmondson's proven today on both races that he's chased Dan. He's got that pace, he's got that momentum, so definitely one to keep an eye on.
12 points then provisionally separating Dan and Max going into the Brands Hatch finale after Dan Thackeray claims his 5th victory of the season and his 2nd of the day here at Silverstone. Max Edmondson chased him home in 2nd, fending off Dave Marshall in the closing stages, who gets his 2nd podium finish of the day. Alistair Camp 4th, but at least finishes this one with Dave Buki in 5th, Harvey Caton 6th, Lewis Kent 7th, with Sam Kirkpatrick, Ryan Jenkinson and Louis Hounsell completing the top 10. Really good result then for Ryan and Louis. Alex Kite, Chris Nyland, Tommy Knight and Jack Riddell were next, and then in 15th position we had Anthony Gannon, who I think has just claimed another Diamond Trophy win, so that's a hat-trick of Diamond Trophy victories today. Owen Hillman 16th, Nick Charlie a 17th, Simon Welch, Jordan Brennan and Mark Hughes complete the top 20, whilst Ryan Bensley, sadly a non-finisher, Sam Nicolau likewise, so too Will Redford and Travis Chapman. Right, for the final time this weekend, I'll head down and conduct the podium interviews, and Phil, you can start to build us up to what's going to be a fascinating championship showdown.
Oh, will do, thank you very much. So yes, as we said, the championship showdown for the Civic Cup takes place at Brands Hatch, 21st and 22nd of October. There with the Formula Ford Festival, TCR UK, and I understand a fleet of minis that are going to be racing. So that's going to be a really, really exciting weekend. It's the finale for the Milltek Civic Cup season. So again, as we've said, Dan Thackeray, 12-point lead. He's got that cushion, but again, once you get to Brands Hatch, as we've seen with the Civics in previous years, Brands is often one that can throw a bit of a spanner in the works and give us a bit of an unexpected result. So definitely one to keep hold of if you can attend. If you can join us there, then all the more welcome. Like I say, final weekend, 21st and 22nd of October. part of the Formula Ford weekend, and it's definitely going to be a very exciting weekend's racing. As we've shown today, 3 fantastic races from the Milltek Sports Civic Cup, and I think now we'll go down and pop down to Andy and let him do his thing.
So we have our top 3 finishers with us once again, and it is a second win of the day for Dan Thackeray. Dan, job well done, that, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was probably the dream weekend, really. I can imagine coming into this, we really needed a weekend like this, to be honest. And it's nice to kind of have a race where you're at the front and you deal with some pressure and then you build a gap, and it's kind of nice to have a race that's had a bit of all of it. So yeah, really happy. I knew it was going to be a kind of a repeat of race 1, in that Max was not going to let me get away. And that proved to be the case. He was stuck with me for a good few laps until I finally had a couple of corners on my own, and I just had enough of a gap to then pull away.
What do you think made the difference then in that one? Because like you said, race 1, you couldn't get away from Max. He still had pressure from behind, but seemed able to stick with you really until maybe the last lap or so. This time around, we hit about 1/3 race distance and you were gone.
Yeah, I think actually when Campy pulled in race 1, I was a bit sad in the way that it would put pressure on Max and probably make my life a bit easier. So I could see he had company close behind. And when someone has to look in their mirrors as well, it just makes my job a bit easier because he can't really commit too much on me because he's going to lose a place. So I will use that to my advantage to take probably half a lap to myself, and that was enough really to get a gap.
Would you say that's your best weekend in Civic Cup? Because I think it might be.
Yeah, definitely, yeah. Like I said to you before, we've had plenty of good races, and then the reverse grid's been a disaster for many reasons, for a bit of bad luck, a bit of just bad driving, not getting my way through. So, I mean, if you'd have offered me this at the start of the weekend, I wouldn't have believed it, to be fair, so I'm definitely happy.
We've got you 12 points up now on Max going into the decider. That sounds like a lot, but you can't drop scores there. We're probably going to get a bit of weather, a bit of action over there. What's the game plan going into that final round?
Well, hopefully be at the front. That would be the nicest way to go about it. But yeah, I mean, it's an unknown quantity of brands. I'm kind of hit and miss. Sometimes I'm good there, sometimes I'm not. So I would rather it was maybe at Snet or something like that, where I love. Yeah, I mean, let's just hopefully stick near the front. I mean, I'm not going to really think about championship points that much in the first race because the reverse grid's going to change everything. So, I mean, if I can work out how I can finish, but you know what it's like, you can lose 2 or 3 positions in one lap. So to try and plan that much is impossible. So I'll just probably head down, race like it's any other race, and see what happens.
You're going there in a really strong position, that's for sure. Well done then to Dan Thackeray. Double race winner here at Silverstone. Second place once again for Max Edmondson. There's a lot to be said for consistency though, Max, and that's been a solid point scoring day.
Yeah, I mean, Dan's just been selfish now, isn't he? I've had 2 wins all season. He's got the 2 in one day, but I think I've had like 9 seconds this year, something crazy like that. I just couldn't get past once again. I presume it was heat soak, or after like 5 or 6 laps of sitting on his back bumper, the car just sort of died off. But he was quick all race, and I couldn't make a clean move on him. So yeah, well done to Dan.
I was going to ask about that. I just asked Dan whether there was any change to his car from race 1, because it did seem this time around like you faded a bit midway through the race. Bit of understeer maybe looked like it was creeping in as well. So had you made some setup changes, or was that just because it's the last race of the day and the tyres are a bit worn?
Yeah, I think the tyres are a bit worn. Obviously, we try to put good tyres on for the reverse grid. Yeah, I just didn't have the pace towards the end. The car was mega all weekend, obviously, thanks to Area Motorsport, but the tyres just died on me.
12 points in it, we think, going to Brands Hatch, but we saw last year from Matt Luff that you can overturn a points deficit at that final round pretty easily. Brands Hatch, a track that you go into with some confidence?
I think it's a bit closer to Brands, though, isn't it? It's a bit like this track. I'll tell you after qualifying.
OK, we'll hold that thought. Well done, though, Max. 2 podium finishes, a solid set of results. Let's get you over near your car then, Dave Marshall, because he's back on the podium again for the 2nd time today. And Dave, a fantastic weekend. I asked Dan just now whether he thinks that's his best weekend in Civic Cup. I don't think I even need to ask you that question. That was as good as it gets, almost.
I'll be honest, the win at Cadwell was quite good. Yeah. But, yeah, regarding the way the car is, getting the setup slightly more dialed in, we're trying to, I mean, we're not experts in this. We're just a group of mates who come racing and do it at club level with some boys who take it very seriously. You know, we're still trying to gather what tyre pressures is the right tyre. Honestly, like race 1, we had the wheels skipping around and we're going, well, what does that mean? It's high? Does that mean it's low? You know, we're learning, you know. It's very different from the sim world. But race 3, whether we just got the pressures right or what, from the second half of that race, I was like, you know, we could be on this. But to be fair, Dan and Max, both top of the championship, who am I to go and put a car between them? So, yeah, it was, what a start.
Yes.
Like, we just bogged it, no wheel spin, up the outside of Ali, just kept it in fourth round the outside. And from that point, he was hounding us on. Max was obviously starting to battle, starting to trip each other over. And I'm thinking, you boys better get a move on, because Ali's not going to not try and get past me. But then I think he started to battle further back. And I'll be honest, I think he did an engine in race 2. And to me, that engine in race 3 didn't look as strong as what I've seen his car before. So that got us a bit of get out of jail, if I'm honest. So Ali wasn't as competitive as maybe he has been in previous. But yeah, once that gap started to make, that was it.
Interesting that you mentioned tyre pressures, actually, because you seemed supremely confident in the early stages as well. The move you made round the outside at Beckett's on the first or second lap, that was the move that you'd make when normally you've got fully warmed up tyres and the car's really gripping underneath you. I made the point before the race, it's colder for this race than it has been all day, and yet you still had plenty of confidence.
Yeah. Does that come from the sim world? It probably does. Yeah, it's a case of, you know, when you're on a sim, you feel everything through your hands. And on that green flag lap, you know, you give a bit of space, you know, to whoever's in front, load it up through the last 2 corners, and it gives you a really good feel for how to, you know, start the race. And I just thought, you know, it moves around a bit, it is loose, but as long as you keep your foot in, you can usually get away with it. And I couldn't throw that opportunity away, could I? So we had to go for it.
And we really enjoyed watching it. Well done on the podium then. For Dave Marshall, his 3rd podium of the weekend. Well, what the scene we have set for Brands Hatch. 12 points provisionally between the top 2 in the championship. Alistair Camp not out of it yet by any stretch either, although he'll need a few things to go his way at that final round of the season. Be sure to join us for live coverage of the last rounds of the Milltek Sports Civic Cup, where we'll be joined once again by the TCR UK Championship, also concluding their season on the Brands Hatch Indy Circuit in late October. In the meantime, head over to the social media channels. There'll be loads of updates and news and announcements for both Civic Cup and TCR UK ahead of that championship decider. It is one not to be missed.
And we are racing, and it's an absolutely electric start for the 42 of Will Bedford. Massive lunge up the inside by Matt Bump on Alistair Camp.
Around the outside. Oh! Oh! Big off! Straight in the gravel trap. Both cars out.